Hey guys, it's Matt with Meat Church coming to you from my outdoor kitchen here in Waxahachie, Texas. Today I thought we'd talk about just a brisket trim. So, this is the king of Texas barbecue, and I get a lot of questions about how should I trim a brisket. I've watched a lot of videos and seen a lot of different things out there, but you got to keep in mind who's teaching you to trim. A competition guy is going to trim one way. A restaurant pit master is going to trim a lot more aggressively to keep the brisket really nice and uniform in the cook. And they can take those extra trimmings and turn it into sausage, burgers, things like that. And then a backyard guy probably needs to trim the least because you want to maximize how much you can eat, and it doesn't have to be as perfect looking for the other reasons I mentioned. So today is going to be about a really straightforward way to trim this to cook in your backyard. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, brisket's comprised of two muscles, the flat and the point, with all this fat in between. So first, I want to remove this hard fat. Anything hard on a brisket is not going to render in the cook process. Just going to kind of shave this out. See, almost all fat. Give it one more little pass here. And I kind of got my hand underneath the brisket, guiding it. So today's trim is going to be what I call a full packer trim, so to cook this thing whole. On the meat side here, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this excess fat off. This isn't a huge deal. This, softer type stuff will render out in the cook, so I wouldn't be worried about it. You don't need to trim all this silver skin off to get down to just meat like this for cooking at home. So you can kind of choose about how much of that you want to take off. A little bit more here. One more little pass, I'm going to call that good. Okay, then show you on this side, I don't like this rough meat. And so what I'm going to do is just make a slice to cut off, basically trim and straighten up the edge. I would consider it, kind of cutting it like a thick piece of bacon. And if you want to come around here, I'll give you a little better angle of this. So all I want to do is just kind of remove this rough stuff and just even it up here. So I'm 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch in places. The real sharp knife. Just want to try to even this up as much as possible. There we go. We'll call that good. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do on the meat side is down here on this corner. This is kind of up to you. This is really thin. So this flat, if you look on this side, is 1.5 inches thick. But over here, this little 1/2 inch, that's not going to cook evenly. This will bow up in the cook process and kind of create a pool of juice here, and you could lose seasoning. I'm going to go ahead and just take a little bit of this off, just because it's so thin. You'll see some guys will actually really even this thing out, especially in the restaurant business. But again, remember, every bit you cut off is something you're not going to eat. So it's up to you. You could have left that on there if you want. Again, if you get a grinder, you could grind that up, do something with it. Now we're going to flip it over and we're going to go to the fat side. All right, so we're going to go over here on the fat side now. And you can see this one came with a little bit of a bald spot right in the fat. That's unfortunate. I like for the fat to be nice and even across there, but kind of is what it is. So what I'm going to do is there's a big connective fat in between the point and the flat. There's a lot of ways you can do this. Some people just shave it out. It's up to you. But what works for me is I like to start my knife down here on the fat and just kind of move this point off. So you see how this brisket's not flat. I actually want to try to make it as flat as possible. So I'm just going to basically start my knife here. And you can really kind of feel this. Just kind of bring that whole big fat part out. You're gonna lose a little bit of meat in this method, but it's not too bad, to be honest with you. So there is some meat there, but it's not that much. And I prefer my brisket to be nice and flat. Now you can really see that fat that's left, and you can choose to take another pass or so. You could flatten this down some more if you want. That's pretty optional. So it's a lot more flat, you know, at this point. So now that I've taken off, you can see it's a lot more flat. The more flat the brisket is, the better it's going to cook, or more evenly it's going to cook in your desired cooker. So last thing I'm going to do is down this side, you can see the fat is a little bit thick. I need to shave some of that out. So, you know, you want to leave about a 1/4 inch. I'm fine with that, but this is a little bit thick right here. So taking my knife, I'm basically going to hold my hand underneath to keep it firm and then just shave it out. Go slow with this. You know, it's better to trim not enough fat, because you can always come back and trim more. See, I went a little deep there and I exposed the meat. I don't want to do that. Personally, I want that fat. Fat's flavor in moderation. So anyway, so I'm going to come through here and just kind of even this out. This actually looks pretty good right here. That's not too thick. I'm just want to take just a little bit out. And a little tip, it's easiest to trim a brisket when it's super cold coming out of the refrigerator, so your fat isn't shifted. You can tell this one's been sitting out a little bit, so it's a little bit difficult to trim. Sharp knife helps that. So I'm feeling it here. That's all nice and soft. I'm good with all of that. But up here is still a little bit hard. So I can tell that's a little excessive. I'm going to shave just a little bit more there. Like I said in the beginning, this hard fat won't render real well in the cook process, so I want to go ahead and take it out. You see people when they cook a brisket and they're done and they shake it and it's kind of jiggly. That's the fat up here. So again, this is what I call a backyard trim. This is not a restaurant trim. This is you know, something to do in your backyard that's kind of minimally trimmed. If I was in a restaurant, I would have been more aggressive and made this thing like super uniform, or in competition, we really would have trimmed it down. But I want to leave as much as possible for me and my family to eat. And that's about all I've got to do to it. So if you guys stay tuned, we've got more videos coming up. We've got cook videos, we've got brisket burn-in videos, and all sorts of stuff. So if you like what you see, you guys subscribe and stay tuned.